Hey, welcome to Build to Hold. I'm Tara Hall. Now, our quote today is inspired by W. Edwards Deming. Stability is not built, but assumed. Everything was working until it wasn't, right? We've been there. You didn't get lazy. You didn't lose focus. You just hit a moment of complexity your current structure couldn't carry. Simple. So this episode isn't about failure, it's about friction because what's breaking down isn't your vision, it's the system underneath. That's it. So my question today is, have you ever had a moment where everything seemed to be running fine until one day it wasn't? What does that tell us about whether your business is truly stable or not? Or is it just, or are we just holding it together the best way we can, habit and hustle? What does that really tell us about our business? Is it truly stable? Now, this is where this shows up. Well, how it sounds, rather, right? We're cruising in our business, it's going well, then everything starts to feel a little clunky. It starts to feel a little off, right? Things seem to be getting harder. And when in our minds, we thought, okay, we built this business for freedom, flexibility. But now it's feeling a little off. It sounds like this also. We launched something new and then things fell apart. You feel like that? Raise your hand. I say yes. Say that's me. That's my business. We launched something new and things fell apart. Or what about this? We made a few hires and now communication is simply all over the place. If that's you, mm-hmm. Tell me about it in the chat, in the messages, comment. We made a few hires and now communication is all over the place. Right, we've been there. Or maybe this, we've restructured and delivery hasn't been the same since. Have you been there? Let's talk about it. We restructure and delivery hasn't been the same since. But guess what? You didn't break the business, you outgrew your system. That's it. Now I'm going back to Incredible Hulk because I like to use Incredible Hulk as an analogy, as a visual picture. So think about when Bruce Banner transforms, his body expands, but his clothes don't expand. This is literally, I don't know. It was amazing to me growing up as a little child, maybe 8, 7. I don't know. I was young, right? The clothes rip, they shred, they fall apart, not because they were bad clothes or not because the clothes were poorly made, but because they were never designed to hold what he became. That's exactly what happens inside high growth businesses when we're trying to scale, when we're growing, right? We have more clients coming in, more revenue coming in, we're hiring more people. You've evolved. So the business expanded, but the structure is still wearing those old clothes. It's time to change them. And now they're torn at the seams. But once, not but once, what once held everything together is now the thing that's breaking your business under pressure, right? That system used to be holding, that system was systeming. It was working. It was working, but now that thing is just breaking under the pressure of all the things coming in, right? So if you don't reinforce that internal structure, the strength you built becomes the very thing that destabilizes you. It was once a strong system, but you've outgrown it. Now it's kind of destabilizing you. So the success starts working against itself, not because it's wrong, right? Nothing is, not because that was wrong, but because it's just outdated. The system is now outdated. You have been to a store like Walmart, for example. You can't use tap at Walmart, Apple Pay. You can't use that at Walmart. Their systems are outdated, right? So if you leave your car at home or whatever, honey, you out of luck. Because they don't take Apple Pay. So their system is outdated. That's why things start to feel clunky when systems are outdated. Roles are getting blurred because systems are outdated, while your teams get stretched because your systems are outdated. Growth without the not transformation, growth without reinforcement always shows up as breakdowns, because that's literally what it is a breakdown in your system. Because remember, in our last episode, I talked about growth being your magnifying glass, right? So growth shows you where the holes are, or the gaps are, or the cracks are, whatever terminology you want to use to show a breakdown. And if you don't realign structurally, the very momentum, right, that you created, you grew this thing. You grew it. But remember, growth and structure is two different things. So the very momentum you created will become the weight that crushes itself, the weight that crushes it. So it's like the business is actually crushing itself, because the system, which is a container that you have to hold it, can't hold it. Now, let's get into the real cause of this breakdown. When things stop working seemingly overnight, right? It literally feels like my glasses crooked. Lord, sorry, y'all. When things stop working seemingly overnight, here's what's actually happening, right? You Number one thing that's actually happened. You added complexity without actually adjusting the infrastructure. Complexity means new offers, you've added new hires, new clients, but no changes to how workflows and how decisions are made or how success is measured. There nothing else has changed, but you've added more things. Think about those bricks. Those old bricks, just any heavy brick. You can stack these bricks and stack these bricks, right? So think about the bricks as being your new hires. You got a new hire, you put that on. You got new offers, you've layered that on. You have new clients, you're layered that on. But nothing has changed with what is sitting on. That Whatever is sitting on was not meant to hold all of that weight of those bricks, right? Nothing changed. But no changes to how work flows, how decisions are made, or how success is measured is a part of your infrastructure. There was no changes when you added all this complexity. So there was no structure built for it, right? Because remember, structure is our foundation. Scale is our foundation, right? Growth are the bricks. Growth is your offers, your new hires, your clients, all this revenue, all this stuff coming in, right? So number two, your team is operating in the old system. They're using process and design for a business half the size of the speed. And now it feels like you're duct taping every single gap. Number three, the leadership roles didn't evolve with the business, but you promoted internally. Tara got promoted to this, so I'm gonna give her this title. Jeff got promoted to this, I'm gonna give him this title. Louise got promoted to this, I'm gonna give her this title, right? You shifted that org chart. You shifted the org chart, but didn't resign for accountability, decision rights, or oversight models. How was the stuff gonna be executed? Number four, you confused alignment with agreement. That alignment doesn't equal agreement. Everyone said yes to your vision because they bought into it. You sold them on a vision, right? They're excited about your vision along with you, but no one is aligned on how it gets executed. So yes, it's good that they have bought into the vision, but now they need to align with the execution of your vision, right? Now, what happens if this breaks, right? What this breaks, let me rephrase that. What breaks if you don't catch it? A few things are going to break if we don't catch this misalignment. Your client experience breaks. It becomes inconsistent. Even though you're technically delivering, it's still inconsistent. Like sometimes you can go to a restaurant, it's a hit or miss. I like to go to restaurants I know are consistent. So if I go to a restaurant one week, oh, they were fantastic. So we decided to go back. We actually have experienced this recently. We decided to try a new restaurant. So the restaurant, oh, it was great the first time. So it was like, okay, let's go back. When the second time, it, it didn't restaurant. It didn't deliver like it did the first time. So it was like, okay, let's go back a third time because I'm gonna give a place about 3 times to kind of see what's what. Went back the third time, it's still a hit or miss. Some things were okay, some things wasn't. So the client experience, that was an inconsistency, right? But they're delivering, but it's inconsistent. What else breaks if you don't catch it? Your best people get frustrated because they're working hard inside a broken structure. I've been there, done that, been there working inside someone else's broken structure. It's very frustrating. It's hard to do a job inside of a broken structure, right? Because if y'all have been around for 15, 25 years, why are there no processes and procedures in place? It's frustrating. Founders and execs get pulled back in operational firefighting. So if you're a founder, now you're putting out these fires. You got to keep doing these little customer service issues or whatever the things are. The execs got to get pulled back into these little operational little firefighting. Why? What else breaks if we don't catch it? The business starts to stall, slows down from lack of demand. Sorry, not from lack of demand. Redo that part. The business starts to stall, not from lack of demand, but from internal drag, right? I don't know why my glasses feel, why upside down. Oh my God. So your business starts to stall, not from lack of demand, but from internal drag. And you know, when you drag and something, that thing must be heavy because you got to drag and you're going slow. So now there's internal drag. Things are moving slow, right? And here's the trap. The bigger you grow, the faster these gaps spread or these cracks starts to get bigger. So the bigger you grow, the bigger the cracks grow too. Right? Because remember, you're adding more things. Remember those bricks. You're putting bricks on top of bricks on top of bricks. Right? Now, remember, now we're going to unpack what this reveals. Let me go back. We're going to unpack what what growth really reveals. Let's unpack what growth really reveals, right? Because remember, we're using growth as a magnifying glass. So growth always reveals something that needs to be fixed, right? So just like in the last episode, what we talked about, growth, magnifying glass. It's not the problem, it's the thing showing you where the real problem lies, right? We're not just looking for the symptoms. We're trying to get to the root of the thing, the real problem. So, what if growth reveals outdated workflows? What you going to do about it? You're going to rebuild volume, speed, and consistency. That's what we're going to do. Outdated workflows. Oh, I'm growing. I realized my workflows are outdated. Rebuild for volume, speed, and consistency. What if my magnifying glass shows leadership gaps, which is growth, right? Oh my God, there's leadership gaps. What are we going to do about it? We're going to redefine roles. We're going to create decision rights and accountability, right? Redefine things, decision rights and accountability. What if my growth reveals process friction? What are we going to do about it? We're going to install documented systems and SOPs. That's what you're going to do about it. You're going to install documented systems and SOPs, and it doesn't have to be anything super complicated. It could be you recording yourself, doing a process, doing a thing, saving it and putting it in a Google Drive and creating your SOPs from there, right? Because remember, when we think about SOPs, we want repeatable, trainable, and reviewable. Repeatable, trainable, and reviewable. So put it in a Google Doc. They can always be reviewed. It's always trainable. Here, shoot them the Google Doc link, and it can be reviewed, right? Don't make the thing hard. Create some easy systems for yourself. It's still a standard operating procedure. Nobody say you had to go about get this elaborate system to just do SOPs, to start creating some SOPs. Our next thing, what growth reveals it I'm sorry, what if growth reveals defaults you back to the decision making? Like everything falls back on you. So when you're growing, you're realizing you are growing, because that's why you're on my channel, right? Because you're growing and you're having some issues and you don't quite know what those issues are. So what if your growth is revealing, oh my God, everything always falls back on me. I'm tired. I'm sick of it. I'm getting sick of this business. All the things I want to burn it up. No, we're gonna breathe. We're gonna relax, relate, and release, right? So what are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? You're going to redesign. You're going to redesign authority and your operating cadence. That's what you're going to do about it. Growth doesn't cause breakdown. It exposes the misalignment you haven't outgrown yet. Because so growth is not the cause of your breakdown. Your breakdown is not about the growth. The growth simply exposes what's misaligned. It's showing what you have outgrown. It exposes the misalignment you haven't outgrown yet. Right? So we just got to get things back into alignment. I hope this is making sense. All right. So you say, well, hey, Tara, what does stabilization look like? How can I stabilize this thing? How can I stop it and start plugging things? Right? This is driving me insane. I need to plug these holes. So I know we're not here to go back to how things used to work. We're here to build a structure that can handle where we're going next, right? So this is what stabilization looks like. This is where the 4 structural guardrails get installed or reinforced. Our 4 classroom rules, right? Like putting those classroom rules in place the first day of school. Remember those rules? They were put in place for a reason, for consistency, for um, clarity, so everyone can be on the same page, so there's not chaos, and we have to get learning done, right? So these are your 4 structure guardrails, and this is how we install those 4 structure guardrails. Number 1, our clear promises. We're going to walk through them now. Number 1 is your clear promise. What are you promising externally, and is it supported internally with precision? If that promise hasn't been operationalized, your delivery will always drift. What are you promising externally, and is it supported internally with precision? Boom. Number 2, repeatable workflows. This is your second guardrail. If your team is guessing, pivoting midstream, or redoing things just on the fly, you don't have scale. You have memory-based execution, and memory fails under pressure. If you got to say something 2 times, it's time to create a workflow or a process for it, right? Put it in a Google Doc, video, talk through it, put it in a Google Doc, right? Create some repeatable workflows. Number 3, your third guardrail, define roles. New people or reorgs without role clarity. You've got more confusion, more capacity, and more. You've got more confusion and more capacity. Ownership must evolve with complexity. We can't just hire new people and reorg and redesign the org chart and not give people ownership and how they need to take ownership of their task or whatever the work is assigned to them. So with ownership, there must be involvement also, right? Because then now the business is getting a little more complex. Our fourth guardrail is leadership oversight. If your leaders are still task managers and not strategic drivers, you're stuck. True scale happens when oversight holds, even when everything else moves, right? There needs to be oversight, not them doing a task and checking the boxes. No, this is what I need done. Here's the outcome. Get it done. And then you have a performance measure to assess that task, right? So now let's think about this. Where are you still relying on momentum to mask what's missing in your company? What's one step you'll take to reinforce the weakest guardrail in your business today? Remember your 4 guardrails: clear promises, repeatable workflows, defined roles, leadership oversight. Which of those 4, out of those 4, what's the one step you'll take to reinforce the weakest one? Which one are you the weakest in your business today? Pick one and start reinforcing it. The system that got you here won't hold what you're building now. It just can't, right? Bruce Banner couldn't keep those same clothes when he turned into the Hulk. It's just not possible. If it all worked and then it didn't, don't make it personal. Make it about your structure. Get in there and do the work, right? Put some guardrails in place. The work is to rebuild, not because you failed. This is not about failure, but because you have evolved, right? So when you reinforce those 4 structural guardrails, you don't return to stability. You install it at scale. So that means you have to keep revisiting that thing, like the classroom rules. I can't set classroom rules. I used to be a 5th grade teacher, so you may hear me refer back to these classroom rules and refer to the classroom some point during our conversations on these episodes. But that's because I used to be a 5th grade teacher. So in the beginning of the year, we will set classroom rules. Y'all remember that everybody been in school, you know, class, pretty much every class, there are classroom rules, right? So everybody know how to move, how to operate, you know, what to do in that classroom to keep the peace, the chaos down. Turn in work, things were put in place, right? So when you reinforce these 4 structural guardrails, these are like your classroom rules. You don't return to stability, you install it at scale. So that means if you're installing it at scale, you have to revisit those classroom rules, right? Every quarter, every week, whatever that look, you have to revisit those classroom rules when you add a new thing, new hires, when you add a new product or a new service, you have to revisit those guardrails, right? Because you're trying to scale, you're trying to build a container to hold a growth, right? So I can't just put classroom rule. I couldn't just put classroom rules on the walls and not remind the students of those rules. We had to work through those rules yearly. And sometimes, you know, it got less and less as the year went on. But sometimes we had to go back and revisit those rules. That's the same thing you have to do at scale. You have to go back and revisit those guardrails that you've put in place to be sure they can hold what you're building, right? Okay, let's build something that doesn't break when you grow. Bye for now, y'all. See you on the next episode.